Tell me, do you deserve someone who comes back or someone who never left in the first place? Let that sink in, because I'm going to give you the healthiest answer possible. The answer to that question is you deserve someone who never left in the first place. But if you receive someone who comes back, it better not be the same person who left. Ooh. Because my question to you now is, if they texted you today and said, let's try this again, would you go back the same exact way you left? Pleading, begging, hoping? Because if the answer is yes, that's a red flag. Because without boundaries, you're not protecting your healing at all. You're preserving basically the outcome being the same way, if not more painful than the original. And I know you don't want that. And this is where I have this written down from before, but it's very applicable. This is from my group Zoom call from my healing community. Desires versus needs. Notice how the desires are on top of the needs? Because this is what this episode is about. Talking about how we allow our desires to supersede our needs. We want the person so bad and so much that we're willing to neglect and ignore what we need. The peace, the comfort, the security. We say, you know what? We will abandon that just to keep them. We will abandon ourselves out of the fear of being abandoned by them. I've said this before, but this is what this episode is about. Remember that you don't have to change the world. Just don't leave it the same. So live fully, love deeply, and laugh hard. Today we're going to talk about why you can't go back the same way you left. You can't go back the same. Without boundaries, without rules, without growth, without things set in place to make sure you get the treatment and the love you deserve from the person that's able to give you that. And if they aren't able to, you have the courage and the strength to say, if you can't give it to me, then you're not for me. Because a person can love you, but not know how to. They can live in your heart, but that doesn't mean they have to live in your life. Ooh, let's get into this. Today's boundaries is about, today's episode is about boundaries. Today's episode is about boundaries. Why you can't go back the same. First of all, let's talk about the difference between a boundary and what isn't a boundary versus basically a rule versus a boundary. A boundary guides your behavior while a rule tries to control someone else's. So I'll give you an example. Rule versus boundary. A rule says you can't text me or they can't text me after 9 p.m. While a boundary simply says I don't respond after 9 p.m. Notice the difference? The rule tries to dictate another person's behavior while the boundary establishes your own. Boundaries are not to control other people's actions towards you. They're to control your own actions towards what other people do to you. Ooh. So boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're simply doors that you control. Who comes in, how far they come in, and under what conditions are they able to come in. Notice how you have complete control over it in every single aspect. That's the difference between rules and boundaries. Rules require so much energy. You're telling people, don't do this, don't do that. Why are you doing this? Why? Versus, oh, you're going to do this? You're going to show me who you are? Cool. I know how to handle that. I'm going to move this way because you're not respecting my boundaries. You're not respecting the things that I have set in place. I can't control you. I'm not trying to. I'm controlling myself. And if the moment you start infringing on my peace, I remove myself. That's the boundary, right? So boundaries give you the ability to start building up your self-confidence. Because if you're able to be like, I am who I say I am, this is what I control, this is what I do or don't do, it gives you the full ability to understand, okay, I know what I need. Although I want them, they can't give me my needs, which means I cannot have them in my life because they're robbing me of my peace. No boundaries allows you to fall into the same patterns. No boundaries is you getting a text from them saying, hey, are you free? It's 10 p.m. You're like, oh, yes, I'm free. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to talk? When do you want to talk? Meanwhile, you're about to go to sleep, but you desired them so much, you neglected your need for peace, rest, and restoration. That's what it looks like to lack boundaries. The moment they send you a text, a half-hearted, half-effort text, they give you an inch, you give them back a mile. That's what lack of boundaries, lack of self-respect looks like. So, you know why people struggle here? It's because after the 3-week period, which is about where we're at, The cravings for connection can disguise itself as hope. But without boundaries, reconciliation actually turns into a relapse. Without boundaries set in place, you start falling victim to the same old patterns as before. You see the issue here? So I'll give you an example. Old patterns is answering every call at midnight from that person. That's what old patterns look like. New boundaries is, okay, I don't respond after 9. I'm putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm putting it across the room. I'm putting it away. I'm shutting my phone off. I'm doing whatever I need to do. First of all, to make sure I establish my boundaries, and also to protect my triggers and my peace. Because that person may reach out to me at midnight. Am I going to keep checking my phone even though I established a boundary to see if they reached out? Because if you even put yourself in a position to fall victim to your actions or your heart's desires, you're not holding firm on your boundaries. You're saying that you're holding firm on your boundaries, but you're allowing events and circumstances to reach you that might make you fall victim to the strength that you're trying to establish. If you're still weak for that person, don't create avenues or allow avenues for that person to get to you for you to fall weak too. So, new boundaries is disrespect is not acceptable. Point blank, period. That's you setting a new boundary. The moment I sniff disrespect, I'm out of there. You are out of my life. You no longer gain access. Access denied. That's the difference. So from a cognitive behavior therapy perspective, this is what it looks like. Your thought process is, if I set a boundary, then I'll lose them. I've thought like that before. That's why we end up putting our desires above our needs. Because if you set the boundary, that means if they don't follow those boundaries, I have to lose them. Oh my goodness, I'm scared, so I'm not going to set boundaries because I don't want to run the risk of losing them. Reframing it says, if I don't set boundaries, I end up losing myself. I guess we often forget about the consequences of falling victim to chasing after someone. You neglect yourself on the pursuit of someone else. I know you hear me, but are you listening? Proverbs 4 verse 23 reminds us, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. It says guard your heart, not to follow it. The biggest lie told in society is to follow your heart. It's been said so many times you would think it's a gospel. Meanwhile, the Bible says the heart is deceitful above all things. So instead to follow it, you're supposed to guard it. Because everything you do flows from it. God, Jesus, doesn't say to follow your heart. He says to follow him. Guarding your heart means setting boundaries. This verse is directly telling you to protect the core of your life, your thoughts, your emotions, your spiritual health. Exactly what healthy boundaries are meant to do, to protect, to guard. This verse reminds you that every choice they make, every choice you make, every choice I make springs from the conditions of your heart. So protecting it today determines the direction of where you go tomorrow. I know you hear me, and I pray you're listening. And here are some practical steps. Write down 3 non-negotiables for yourself moving forward. Example, I won't chase. I won't allow yelling. I won't settle for inconsistency. There's 3 negotiables you can write down for yourself. This is universal. It's real. But the real question is, have you been following that? Have they been giving you that? Have they been giving you security and actually meeting you where you are so you're not chasing? Have they been speaking to you in a calm, healthy way and not yelling at you when they're upset? And have they been consistent and not inconsistent in terms of giving you that security and not yelling and being that healthy anchor in your life? Keep these as your guardrails. If they ever return, your boundaries decide the terms and conditions, not your emotions, your boundaries. And I hope that makes sense. Journal prompt for today. What boundary do I wish I had set in that relationship? Reflect. What boundary do you wish you had set in that relationship? And how can I commit to setting it for myself now? That's the journal prompt for today. What boundaries do you wish you had set in that relationship, and what can you do to start settling it for yourself now? That's real. For me, reflecting back on my most recent heartbreak, so to speak, earlier this year, the boundary I wish I set in place was just walking away the moment the inconsistency started showing up. The moment I was chasing, the moment I was waiting for them to reach out, the moment I just literally, my actions revolved on their reactions and actions. I couldn't move without them moving first. And if they didn't move, I waited to hear from them. I neglected myself. And that's something I will never do ever again. That's my non-negotiable. The moment I feel like I'm pouring in more than I'm receiving, not because I expect to receive, but realizing pouring into something that doesn't know how to pour back, it's not this beautiful, rounded relationship. I end up suffering. I end up sacrificing myself for someone else. The moment it starts feeling like that, we're not here anymore. That's our non-negotiable. The moment it's inconsistent, you love me one minute, but now I'm questioning whether or not you love me or if you're going to leave me. We're not settling for that. It's too painful. It's too painful. Never again. Boundaries don't push the right people away. So free yourself from, what if I lose them? Free yourself from that thought of, what if I lose them? Because if you end up losing them, then they were never for you to begin with. And maybe it's the fear of, wait, maybe they aren't my person. You have to be able to accept that. Boundaries filter out the wrong ones. People that were benefiting off of you neglecting yourself. Those are the people that are going to leave because of boundaries being set in place. Anyone who is meant to be in your life will respect the limits that protect your peace. Anyone who's meant to be in your life will respect the boundaries and limits that are set in place to protect your peace. Don't be afraid to draw the line. You deserve that. You're not just healing from the past, you're protecting your future. Oh my goodness. And if you're in a season of healing, I've mentioned this before, you definitely should check out the healing community. It's called Pieces to Peace. We have weekly group Zoom calls. You have direct access to me. You can message me all you want, and I provide support to guide you along the way. There's resources. There's a free app to download to get access to everything. The first 7 days are free. It's at the very least worth checking out. So join the community. Link is in the description. It's also in the comment section. There's a 7-day free trial. And again, regardless, I want you to pause and reflect. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So anyways, regardless, remember this. You don't have to change the world. Just don't leave it the same. So live fully, love deeply, laugh hard. And our job is to help people. If you can't help them, at the very least, don't hurt them and start with yourself. Until next time, see you tomorrow. Peace from Dees.